Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So Lizard is here and we do have the deep dive and a full ability description. And it looks fine. I can't say that I'm mega hyped about him yet. Nothing in his kit seems to be extremely troublesome, but I do think he's the type champion where his viability will eventually come down to whether he is fast enough and how he matches up with the defenders, which we're going to actually go through in the matchup sheet and kind of take a look at which champions he could potentially be quite decent against. First, let's take a look at his rotation and then actually break down his abilities and then look at his potential matchups. Obviously he's a science champion, so he does inflict debuffs. He does rely on Rupture as his main source of damage and bursts from that Rupture basically. Well, he turns Ruptures into power things, kind of. So he does have the Retribution passives, and then when opponents activate specials, they do take bursts of damage. The more Retribution passives you have on the opponent, the more damage they obviously take, and then you can kind of use your level 2 or 3 to do a burst of damage, which is based on how much damage opponent has taken activating their own special attacks. So we can see that that number that he has there, the 53, it goes down when you use the burst because it kind of cashes out. And then every time the opponent does use a special attack, in these clips you can see that number there by the Lizard going up right there to 99 in this instance, for example. And level 3 effectively does the same thing as level 2 does, except it's an increased amount of burst. And that is Lizard, right? And let's break his abilities down fully. What I do like, what I don't like about him, what are my points of worry, and let's see how this works out. Prestige-wise, his prestige is fairly mid. Realistically speaking, his prestige is like 80-something in the game. It's somewhere along the line with Odin and America Chavez. He's meant to have quite good damage, but as we have learned recently, or as Kabam has reminded us recently, these do not matter at all. Also, in the list of defender strength, I do have a sneaking suspicion he might be significantly more annoying on defense than people realize in one particular game mode mainly. But we're going to talk about that as we are breaking down his abilities. So Lizard wants to inflict and maintain as many Ruptures on the opponent as possible, maximize his damage. These Ruptures themselves do not do too much damage, but they inflict further bursts of damage. When the opponent activates special attacks, the special attack 1 grants Fervor to Lizard, which makes it easier to inflict more Ruptures, and also inflicts Retribution on the opponent, which improves the damage the opponents take when activating special attack while they are suffering from Ruptures. One of the cool things is that I do believe that Lizard could potentially have some crazy nice interaction with some specific nodes, and he could also be a very dangerous defender because of it under specific circumstances. And his rotation is fairly simple, so attacks inflict Rupture, occasional heavy to pause those Ruptures. Ruptures deal bursts of damage when the opponent activates special attacks. Special attacks inflict Retribution, special 1 to gain Fervor for more Ruptures, and then special 2 or 3 to basically kind of cash out, and then repeat the cycle. As a defender, he's just immune to poison, has a buff. While Lizard has a buff or unstoppable immune to heal block, slowly regenerates a portion of damage taken when struck. Skilled champions have extra ways to interact with it. Special 1 grants Rejuvenate, gains unstoppable and unblockable buff when a buff is cancelled or prevented by his buff immunity during special attacks. During Lizard's opponent's special attacks, they take bursts of damage based on direct and physical damage over time effects. And this is kind of the key aspect. Based on direct and physical damage over time effects, it doesn't specify Rupture, right? And it can interact with some nodes as well, both offensively and defensively. But let's just go and take a look at his abilities. So always active, immune to poison, and immune to heal block while under the effect of buff or unstoppable effect. This functionally, offensively at the very least, will kind of work the same as heal block immunity. But I don't know, was there a need? Can't he just be immune to heal block? But I suppose this is meant to work in a way that's making him easier on defense, I guess. But still. I don't know. Kabam just freely gives heal block immunity to the champions. Anyways. Lizard's regeneration rate can only be reduced below 50% by skilled champions. And if you can take a look at the skill champions existing in the game, they don't really do that. So they can't reverse his regen. Some of them with despair, obviously with ton of debuffs, will be able to negate the regen. But I don't think just about anybody here actually reverses regeneration on the opponent as far as I know. So he's going to be immune to regen reversal. That would be very, very good for the meta that's about to come in Ballions, by the way. But it is something to take in note. That is very useful. Lizard's healing factor. When struck, gain a regeneration passive that recovers 60% of damage taken over 20 seconds. Guaranteed critical hits do not trigger this regeneration. So that will kind of make him chunky unless you can deal with his regeneration. But unless you're using skill champion, you can't even reduce his regen rate below 50%. So I do think that if his health pool holds up, actually need to check out what is his health pool. At 7-star rank 4 level, it's 105k 84. I think that's actually a small health pool, which could be bad for him. So if we go to the Conchu's Ankh in the tool showcase, we do have the prestige tool that we can use better. You can select attributes as well. And 102k at the rank 4 level. Is this a rank 4 level? Yes. 102k rank 4 level. That's not a big health pool. It's not awful though. Smaller ones at rank 4 level are... it's not too bad. Fine. We just avoided the worst case scenario. Because if he had a tiny health pool, this would be awful. But it's not too bad. Right. Let's get back to breaking it down. With that regen and inability to reverse it, we'll see how tanky he is, really. But obviously, offensively, this isn't meant to come in play too much, because it only activates when you get hit. Additionally, when inflicted by an Incinerate, Cold Summon, Frostbite effect by a skill champion, lose 1 regeneration effect. Sure, because, many of the skill champs inflict that, and that's meant to be a way how to prevent it, or, get rid of the regens. Rending Claws. All of Lizard's attacks have a 25% chance to inflict a Rupture debuff for 6 seconds. Max stacks 20. When the opponent activates special attack for each physical or direct damage over time effect on them, excluding effects from masteries. Oh, interesting. Deal a burst of 1800 physical damage. This damage scales base attack only, but scales with the level of special attack used, the opponent's cover, and the opponent's current power of activation. So if there's any nodes that, plays bleed or poison or like degen or something similar to the opponent, then the Lizard immediately is going to be significantly more powerful. That also could work as a defensive trap, because if there are any nodes that, apply bleeds on you or degens and things, then this will interact with it, and when you activate special attacks fighting Lizard, you would be taking bursts of damage even if you don't have any Rupture on you. So it is something that I am sure is going to come into play at some point, somewhere, in some sort of Eternity of Pain type thing or something. Personal Raptures have a 50% chance to be removed when they trigger this burst of damage. And striking a non-stunned opponent with heavy attack pauses all personal debuffs on the opponent for 15 seconds. This effect does not trigger if the opponent was stunned during any of the hits. So the easiest way to trigger this is obviously off the relic, but you also could, heavy punish or bait out heavy attack and punish with your own heavy attack, and so on and so forth. This is fine, I think. 15 seconds is a fairly long time, so I don't think it's like the most inconvenient thing. Intercepting the opponent or punishing their heavy or special attacks inflicts a tracking debuff for 10 seconds. The duration is fairly short, however, the key of this is going to be whether it applies prior to your first hit or afterwards, because if it falls off, an opponent is invisible and then you do struggle to get an opening, it is going to be significantly less powerful if it would activate just before the first hit. So this is again one of those things that we need to kind of test out in practice and how it interacts with other things, but easy to access tracking is obviously quite good. The duration does worry me a little bit, especially if AI is a bit passive, but it's obviously a very, very handy ability to have. Special attacks. For the duration of his own special attacks, Lizard is buff immune. Okay, cool. Each special attack hit that hits, is blocked, or whiffs inflicts a 20% retribution passive lasting 12 seconds per level of the special attack and is paused during special attacks. Max attacks 4. So this is again to help him ramp up. And it also basically means that you will more than likely be getting these placed on yourself on defense unless you perfectly kind of like dex that special. If the opponent dodges a hit, retribution is not inflicted. Again, that's the only way how to avoid that. While these retributions are within 6 seconds of expiring, the opponent is more likely to throw special attack, so this can work as a taunt mechanic, which is always kind of handy and useful, especially with the current AI. Primal Rage. When immune to a buff or when a buff on Lizard is nullified or staggered, gain an unstoppable passive for 3 seconds. Paused during special attacks. As an attacker, if Lizard is struck while this unstoppable is active, starts a 10-second cooldown. And while this unstoppable is active, gain unblockable passive and extra attack rating. So this is kind of like a key aspect for extra damage, basically. And it's going to be kind of core mechanic where you do want to get generally dexterity buff on you and then activate your special attack, which is again another point of kind of like potential issue. Because you need to be very, very precise on dexing the opponent's dash. And if you do dex, slightly too quickly, you do not get the precision, and then because this kind of like a pre-planned motion, you activate that special attack, you do not get the full damage potential. So this is, you could say, a skill element to it as well, but as at the same time, it is obviously a skill element. Getting the dexes, obviously somebody who does play Starhand Spider-Man as well, at times can be slightly unreliable, and this is definitely different against every single champion. So it is going to be one of those things where you do need to get used to it, and you do need to get consistent with it. And these are the type of things that I personally don't necessarily like within the champions. I don't mind skill asks, but again, to me, in my mind, this is just another extra thing that can go wrong in a fight. And typically, with champions, you want them to be as reliable and as consistent as you can. So I hope this works fine. I hope it's not a major friction point for the character. But it is definitely a necessity in majority of the matchups to trigger that precision before you activate the special attack in order to get that extra attack rating and so on. Right, special attack 1. On activation, gain a non-stacking 8% rejuvenate passive for 20 seconds. While the effect is active, gain extra attack rating. On activation, gain a non-stacking 100% fervor passive for 20 seconds. Pause during the opponent's special attacks. Fervor increases your ability accuracy on the damaging effects, basically. So you're going to be inflicting more ruptures. And special attack 2 and 3, the final hit deals a burst of physical damage equal to 125% of all the damage the opponent has taken during their own special attacks up to max of 96,760 damage. Damage counting resets once the damage is dealt. Keep in mind this is a number for a 6-star rank 5. And for 7 stars this is going to go higher, and 125% would mean it's probably a meaningful chunk. I hope it's meaningful enough. Special attack 3 deals extra burst of this physical damage equal to 55% of the damage the opponent has taken. Fair enough, so special 3 basically does the same thing, just more damage, as it should, because it is an extra bar of power. Signature ability, Reptilian Complex, increase the potency of personal retributions by 25%. Sure, that's good, that's super important for his kit, so you will want to have your Lizard awaken, because this is core mechanic of his burst damage. Gain extra block proficiency, that's just kind of handy to have. And while the opponent has at least 2 bars of power, they are inflicted with 100% Wither debuff. This is also nice. You'd kind of wish that this could be present if opponent has at least, like, a couple of Ruptures on or something like that, but fair enough. That's the way they have chosen with it, that it will only activate when they have 2+ bars of power. Still, just because of the first line alone, you definitely do want to have him awaken, because that means he has significantly higher damage there, thanks to the retributions being more potent. That's it. So, let's quickly take a look at his synergies. All champions gain Lizard's regeneration passive at the start of each fight, granting 600 attack rating. and recovering 2% of health base over 20 seconds. Alright, nice. That's kind of nice. With Spider-Man Classic. And that is for all champions. Oh, this is actually cool synergy. Synergy increase the amount of healed. Okay, cool. Cool. Just another, since there's 6. Synergy when fighting against Spider-Verse heroes and special attack activation, gain a pursuit passive. Oh, so shutting down their weight. That's also, oh, synergies are not that important, but then a special attack only runs 100% petrified debuff for 4 seconds. Oh, this is kind of cool for MCOC. This makes MCOC significantly better immediately as a heal reversal champion. Personal unstoppable lasts +2 seconds. Mr. Sinister, when the opponent fails to purify 1 or more debuffs, reduce the ability accuracy, self-inflict a personal bleed debuff. Kind of nice. Steadfast passive. Nah. Wizard, when the opponent is inflicted with non-damaging debuff other than parry mastery stun, inflict a personal rapture. Alright, that is kind of cool. With inequity, that would be bonkers. Sauron, if the opponent purifies or cleanses the parry mastery stun, gain an unstoppable. Man thing, each hit of special 2 nullifies 1 extra buff. That's kind of unnecessary, I think. Right, so recommended masteries: Despair, obviously offensive stat focus, either block proficiency or adrenaline, and recommended battle class Relic. Ant-Man with Power Sting has 2 powerful synergies with Retribution and the special 2 damage. That is true. Ant-Man Relic's probably the best way to go. And Hulk and Spider-Man 2099, physical vulnerability would also be helpful for the Raptures, so that makes sense too. Sure. So that is Lizard. Doesn't look too bad, I'll be honest. I'm not gonna scream and say that he looks great or good, because I don't necessarily think he does look amazing. He hasn't... He isn't the champion that I can convincingly say that I'm sure he's gonna be great. Because so much depends on, number 1, his matchups, and number 2, his damage output. So, looking at here, he's obviously gonna be a Nico counter. Quite clearly. There's nothing really stopping you from dealing with Destroyer, Rintra, or Kindred, or Enchantress. He's also going to be quite good against Enchantress, because you do have that tracking, so that is kind of important. I do like that. So he does all the Mystic matchups as you'd kind of expect a new Science Champion to do. Zola. He should work against Zola if he can heavy punch him. So that is to be seen. Sentinel, I think there's nothing at all stopping him from dealing with Sentinel. Sentinel doesn't have any major physical resistance, and you do virtually all of your damage through. He actually should be very good for Sentinel, so I kind of like that. Should actually be good for Red Skull too, because again, he doesn't necessarily rely much on base hit damage, and there's nothing stopping you from inflicting Ruptures. Solvark theoretically could be capable too, because it's physical damage, not energy damage. Could work, and Solvark spams special attacks, so that's kind of good for you. Shocker, sure, why not? Fam should work. Penny, immune heal block during special attacks. Could maybe work, yeah, nothing stopping you from that. I actually think if his damage holds up, in theory, he should be half decent for Serpent, because again, Serpent does spam his specials. And you do have that Wither that will be half the potency when he's about 2 bars of power, but if you need be, you can kind of be more aggressive with pushing him to level 2s maybe. I don't know. Need to see this one for sure. I don't think he's going to be too great against Thanos. There's nothing helping him against Dark Phoenix, so I doubt that's going to be working out great. Maestro, he's not going to be good against Nova Medusa, sure. Thing, I think he should be doing just fine. High Evolutionary. Potentially MODOK, again, matter dependent. Spider-Woman, not against Photon. I don't think he'd be too great against Photon, but who knows. Mr. Sinister, you don't necessarily want to deal with that. Cap Britain. I mean, he doesn't look too bad if his damage holds up. I think a lot of these matchups will depend on that. So yeah, I am definitely, however, quite eager to see more of him, because he's cool. There's just no way to put it. He is cool, looks cool, and could be good. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So, we have all been